law the student loans bill in fulfillment of a promise he made during his campaign. The federal government spokesperson, Mr. Delia Laki, who made the announcement this evening, stated that the funds will be domiciled in the Ministry of Education and will only be assessed by indigent students of tertiary institutions. The student loan bill was sponsored by the Speaker of the 9th House of Representatives, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, and passed the third reading at the House 2 weeks ago.
The President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, signed into law the Students' Loans Bill. And that Students' Loans Bill, you all know what it entails, what it connotes, the meaning. This is a promise made during the presidential campaign by the then candidate, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that he will bring back the issue of the student loans issue onto the front burner. And today, that promise he made has been kept. He has just signed that bill into law, which henceforth will allow or enable our indigent students to access the federal government loans to fund their educational pursuit or career. And this is how it's done in other developed climes, other developed societies all over the world. So this is a boom to our youths, to our students nationwide. Of course, there are prescribed qualification parameters, and that is the proof of indigenship of whoever is to be a beneficiary. And other prescribed parameters will be there. Of course, there are committees to be set up, the members of committee drawn from various bodies to superintend over the efficient and proficient disbursement of this facility. The bill takes effect immediately, but the procedures will be worked out, the committees to superintend and all of that are spelled out. There is an amount, not in terms of the naira and kobo, but in terms of percentage of revenue of the federation. Yeah, and that is also in the bill.
To security issues.
Like you talk about the how. So education bonds will be issued. There's going to be endowment fund schemes, 1% of taxes from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Immigration, Customs, also 1% of government profits from oil and minerals. Talked about the mining sector and how that has also struggled. Eligibility requirements. You got to have a proof of school enrollment in that higher institution, all polytechnics or vocational institutions that are government owned. Then the threshold is income of 500,000 naira a year. That breaks down to about 41,000 naira a month. That's the threshold.
Cost of a bag of rice a month.
Yeah, so that's the threshold they're using for those who require the funding. So if this is what you're earning, then you would qualify for that. And then at least, yeah, for the students.
For the student.
No, for the students. So it's either for the student or whoever is going to be funding the student that is going to get the loan.
So that's the family income.
Right, family income. Then if you get the triggers for disqualification, if you have a previous loan default by the student or the parent, also any incident of exam malpractice, any felony convictions, and then drug offense convictions, you get disqualified. And then as far as the loan processing, they're saying, and this is pretty quick, they're saying 30 days of processing and disbursement from when it reaches the chair, which is I guess the CBN governor. And then your repayment starts 2 years after you finished your youth corps. And then they are going to deduct from source. So it's going to be 10% of your salary deduction if you get a corporate job, or if you are a self-employed, it'll be 10% of your profits. And then part of the law, it says there, if you will, and this, I guess this may be open to interpretation. If you willfully, I'm not sure how this would be proved, but if you try to default on the loan, then there's going to be a 2-year imprisonment or a 500,000 naira fine, or both. Now, so look, the president made the promise. It's here. There was a report we had, Rise News had about 6-7 months ago, leading up to the elections, as to how this would be funded. Right, remember that, yeah. How that would be funded. So there it is. I guess, look, this is a lot of spending. If you think about, there's estimated 1.7 to 2.1 million students in government-funded universities here. Depending on how you break down who can afford it, interest-free loans in this environment, it's going to be a lot of spending on the part of the government. Also, the whole part of 2 years to start paying back after you complete your youth corps. That means there's a 2-year window to get a job. Right. So you got to get a job within that time. Now, that is going to be an incentive or a trigger for the government to try to make sure that there is an employable environment, because youth unemployment is 54% as of the Q4 2020 numbers from the Bureau of Statistics. Overall unemployment is 33%. So the government has to really move fast to make sure that there is an environment for jobs. Now, maybe there will be concessions. If you can't find a job within 2 years, maybe you don't start paying and so on and so forth. And then there's also the issue of if you maybe lose your job down the line, what happens to the monthly payments? Because that automatically triggers a default if you are not able to pay back. So will you then be in prison for 2 years or have to pay that fine? So, there's that. And so when you think about the inflationary environment, when you think about the amount of students, there's still a lot that has to be broken down here, but he's fulfilled his promise, in terms of getting this on paper and getting this out.
Fulfilled promise, signed into law, but let's extrapolate. That bill had been on even before the campaign started, 2019. It was just happenstance that it was completed at this time and it was passed. If you look at the old iteration of that bill, it's been on for 2019. So fulfilling this promise is highly contestable. It's a bill that's been on since the start of the last administration. That's number one. Okay. Number two, a bill is a law is a living document, so there has to be other further iterations. I do not see the practicality of that 500K threshold family earnings. I think it has to be bumped up to about $1 million, because what you're saying is that the family will be earning about 41,000 naira every month if that they are earning 500K. So if like a security, the father of the person is a security man that earns 50,000 naira every month, you will say it's not indigent, but it's really indigent because that money doesn't go anywhere.
So wait, hold on. You're saying, so that threshold, again, remember, you're looking at students. So look, the reason why they're doing this here, they don't want to fund tuition for schools anymore. This issue where you've been falling into problems with ASSU, right? So wait, hold on. Yeah. What that means is that the schools now, I think there's a university in Taraba, I can't remember which one, that has jacked up students' tuition. Right. So if you cannot afford to pay the increase in tuition, you will now be eligible for the loan.
I get it.
That 500,000, remember, you're dividing it into 12 annual per annum. Yeah. So it is somebody who earns at least 41,000 per month.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if I earn 50,000,
okay,
Rotus by Nigeria standards a month, we are very indigent.
Okay.
So there are people that earn 50,000 that might not be able to pay for that jack-up in tuition fee, which ASSU is kicking against, because ASSU is saying this is a way federal government is abdicating their responsibility. That's why ASSU shut it down. They call it monumental failure then. So if I'm earning 50,000, because my earning in a month, in a year when you calculate it, will be 600,000 times 12, I'm still very indigent. I might not have the money to fund the university education. So that means this thing does not qualify me.
Right, but then you're counting people who earn at least 50,000, but then you have to now look at the threshold for the number of people who fall under the 40,000.
So what I'm saying is, at some point, they will have to increase the threshold so that more people may fall under it.
Which is it makes it more expensive for the government.
Yeah, right, so they have to increase the threshold because it will be useless to people. Because when you look at it, that will still seem that you are very below the line. Secondly, is the implementation. Rotus, this is not new. In 1971, we had this. Decree number 25, the Education Bank of 1993. We also had things like the People's Bank, headed by Tanshulari and Maria Shokenu. The question is, why didn't it work? What about the other government rigmarole? And how do you even pay back in an economy where things are very tight? So those are the things. When I saw the threshold there, I saw the 500K threshold. Just reminds me of the 500 pound threshold. Are you okay?
Just very quickly, we have to go.
Good morning, welcome back. Trust we had a wonderful night rest. Good morning, my people. Yet on that day for our newspaper review, Conley's More, good morning to you and other viewers out there. Good morning, please. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to click the subscription button and also click on the notification bell so as to get notified whenever we are live. And if you have comment, you can make use of the link and join me here. All right, so over to our newspaper review this morning, starting with the Vanguard newspaper. It says some Nigerian returnees from Libya came without kidneys berries. That's on page 6. And NIN enrollment rises 363.5% to 27.1 million in 3 years. That's on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Our plan for real wage human labor rights orders is coming from the federal government. Still, that's on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Article to tribunal, it says someone INEC boss as witness on page 8. Benue governor imposes curfew as communal crisis claims 3 lives in 2 local governments. That's on page 6. And on the top side of the top page of this newspaper, it says Nigerians oil output rises 15.6% to 1.3 MB per day. That's on page 15. Then on the 10th nurse, it said how Apabio Abbas flawed opponents. You can see that on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And Nigerians want us to lift their economic burden. Tinubu tells Apabio Abbas. Asking us to work with him to deliver democracy dividends. Apabio pulls 63 votes to beat Yari 46 to emerge Senate president, and extends lawmakers elect take oath of office. Barrow Kalu emerged unopposed as deputy Senate president. Deputy Speaker, I shall be just, fair, guided by the Constitution. This is coming from Abbas. Now it's go up to 0.618 trillion naira in 25 years. You can see that on page 7. And the news elements at the National Assembly, you can see the image there. There's a photograph there of that. The underneath it says father, 4 children, 95 others die in Kwara boat mishap. You can see that on page 6. Governor's ignorance of minimum wage. This coming from NLC. That's still on page 8. And revenue from VAT CIT falls 80% to 1.18 trillion naira. That's on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. Osimhen arrives, 22 players now in camp. That's on Sports News, page 31 on the Vanguard newspaper. Then on page 16, you see Baba Ahmed. It says Tinubu must design a strong anti-corruption strategy and strengthen system that will keep public assets away from the reach of elected and appointed officials. Then on page 22, we have Babalola. It says the earlier we enact a new federal constitution, the sooner we can begin to witness economic recovery. It is a true federal constitution that will address the lopsidedness of the 1999 constitution. And that's all on the Vanguard newspaper. And over to the Punch newspaper. It says Governor mourns at 103 die in Kwara boat tragedy. Rescuers recover over 50 corpses, 50 passengers, children missing. That's on page 4 and page 5. Classified documents. Trump's had arrested, faced 37 counts. You can see that on page 56 of the Punch newspaper. And also, Punch is celebrating their 50th birthday. I didn't remember to say that earlier. Still on the 10th National Assembly, Tinubu's candidate floor APC rebels. Pablo leads Senate. You can see that on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Abbas beats Wase Jaji, emerges House Speaker. Yari embraces Apabos after defeat. National Assembly won't be independent. Presidency and picked leaders. NNPP and Labour Party. And then you can see image of the leaders. In under this, we have over 25,000 trafficked Nigerian women, girls trapped in mail. This coming in Mali. This is coming from NAPTP on page 7. And congratulations to Hilda Baci. It's a fans crash website as Guinness World Record confirms Hilda Baci's cooking record. You can see that on page 54. Though she tried her best reaching 100 hours births. Information reaching us that she had I think she took enough rest earlier, so there was a miscalculation with that. So the new record that have been set is 93 hours and some minutes. And then there's undergirl Dami from Ekiti State who did 120 hours, which ended up this morning. Let's see how it goes. Then on page 7, we have Aida Tiwa steps in as Akera Dulu goes on medical leave. And that's all on the Punch newspaper. And over to Daily Trust newspaper. It said 103 wedding guests died in Kwara boat mishap. Father, 4 children among victims. IGP World MD Abubakar for renewed hope agenda. And federal government to introduce tuition fees in universities. Many students will leave school. This is coming from ASSU. And I will improve investment in education. This is coming from Tinubu. Nothing to celebrate in new law. Girls, we will speak on new law today. This on from the ministry. You can see that on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And still on the National Assembly leadership, her last minute intrigues work for Apabo. Abbas, Birao, Kalu emerge deputies unopposed. Factors that gave Yari 46 votes. Open ballot edge weighs Jaji out. That's on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And that's all on the Trust newspaper. Then over to the Tribune newspaper. It said Atiku sub Paul News. INEC chairman as Obi tenders 188 additional exhibits against Tinubu's election. You can see that on page 5. Both accidents claims 103 lives in Kwara. That's on page 29. My condolence to the families of these lives of the corpses. Okay, factors behind Apabo Harvard's victory as Senate President Speaker say I will be transparent with NAS leadership. That's coming from Tinubu. How lack of consensus on deputy speaker slots established GC aspirant. We will stand against any executive more not in public interest. This coming from Abbas. You can see that on page 17, page 18, and page 19, respectively. Akera Zulu goes on medical leave and over deputy. That's on page 17. Student loan. So still on the student loan, Tinubu pledges more resources to education as NAS visits. That's on page 2. Sensors will expire if not done this year. This coming from NPC, and you can see that on page 13. Guinness World Record confirms Hilda Baci record for longest cooking marathon. You can read that up on page 2. Bukakuwa is a why Tinubu must fundamentally cleanse the system. That's on page 5 by Agbakuba. NNPCL denies giving Dangote refinery license for fuel imports. That's on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And that's all on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And over to Daily Sun. It says Obi Labour Party tender IREV report for Adamawa Rivers. 3 others. Atiku wants INEC chairman summoned to testify in petition against Tinubu. You can see that on page 28 and page 29. Ex-US President Trump arrested faces trial. You can see that on page 29. And IBOP insists on referendum. Comments Mbab Solundu Baka orders over call for Kanu's release. You can see that on page 28. Now that this referendum of a thing is having its way into the news of the day, we hope for a positive result as soon as possible. 103 killed as boat capsizes in Kwara. 15 bodies recovered. Governor Mons. That's on page 4. And still on the NAS, APC zoning prevails as Akpabo Habas win. Tinubu advises Yari Khalid orders not to relent in service to constituent Nigerians. We will stand with citizens, not executives. This coming from Senate President Speaker. You can see that on page 6 and page 27. And then there is Arthur, congratulations. And you can see the winners' photos display. And that's all on the Daily Sun newspaper. And over to this day newspaper. It says Ondo Governor Akero Dulu writes assembly and over to deputy flies out for treatment. And state legislature confirms governor's lead later for medical leave. Federal government generated 1.18 trillion from VAT. Company income tax in Q1, that's on page 6. And Kwara boat mishap claims 100 lives. You can see that on page 51 of this day newspaper. Over 120 people killed since Tinubu's inauguration, says as Amnesty International. And from Tinubu, say Apabo Abbas emergence good development for Nigeria. Says it's time to get on with serving the people. Declares readiness to transparently work with legislature. Vows to remain a partner for peace, stability of country. Senate President, Speaker pledge effective cooperation. Then from Adamu, it says APC will waste no time filling other principal offices. Uriwa DAP's 10th National Assembly will be independent. Then from SGF, governors, others congratulate new National Assembly leaders. And then there's an image there, a photo of the president of the 10th Senate Assembly. And that's all on the newspaper. Yeah. So please, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to click the like button, click on the subscription button, and also on the notification bell so as to get notified whenever we are live. And also for those aspirants, said the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, in collaboration with tertiary institution, will on June 24 fix the cut-off marks for admission into tertiary institution. And also for the still on the student loan, said ASSU ASUP expressed doubts over student loan. So President Bola Tinubu on Monday in Abuja signed the student loan bill into law. Mr. Yewa, good morning.
Good morning. What's up?
Very well. Thank you for joining us today. Just you
How's
had a
your
wonderful night
family?
rest and you're doing well.
We thank the Lord. How's your family and your children?
Bless God.
Okay. What is the topic of today?
It's still on the student loan and also Hilda Baci's record.
Which you did not explain yesterday. Okay. Well. Hello.
I can hear you. What do you say?
I said you did not explain the children's loan, the loan, yes, student loan yesterday. It's like your network is very bad,
Okay.
right?
Yes, we later discussed it, but let me just play a video so everyone can get the update. At least video explains it more.
Video.
The student loan app, the student loan, it's actually the bill actually states that you can, as a student in any tertiary institution, you can get a loan from the government. You can get a loan from the government, and you are expected to pay after 2 years after NYSC. So meaning you are expected to have a job so you can pay back after graduation and after your NYSC. And there are also requirements to eligibility, and which is you must earn at least 500, 50,000, 500,000. Yes, 500,000 in a year. So what my question now is, if it's
You can
compulsory,
have the person can have a job in which company?
sorry,
The person can have a job in which company?
that's what
Is there any company that is in Nigeria that is functioning? Is there any new company that they built? You don't understand. You don't hear me.
They've not really considered. Now, I think they've not really looked into that because
So I cannot hear you. I said, is there any company that the students will be working? Did they build any
and
company?
also that person I'm looking.
Is there any fresh company? They did not build any company. Can they build any company in 3 years that will be functioning? That will accommodate like 1 million students or 500 students, 500,000 students. There is none. All these are scammers. All these are like what will I call it? The less you see. All these are the less you see. All these are the less you see. Scammers. Nigeria can never work. British didn't create Nigeria to work. It can never work. All these are scamming. They are bringing different strategy to scam people. To think that they are working. People are congratulating Tinubu. You sign a loan for students. As in what now? What impact will the loan go to? When you have no economy, you have no money, you have nothing, you have no work, no job. First subsidy everywhere. Everything is costly. How much will you give them? All these are strategy to loot money. All these are strategy to loot, force looting.
Okay, I think Mr. Oyewa is muted.
He said it's like your network is very bad.
Okay, I can hear you now.
I said there is no company for students to work and get balance of that loan. And again, they cannot build a company in 3 years or in 4 years. That a company that will contain like 1 million students or 500,000 students, they can build it. This is a strategy to loot money. This strategy is to loot money. These are the less you see. These are scammers. Nigeria did not design to work. It can never work because the foundation is very bad. So it can never work. This is a strategy to loot money, force looting. Tinubu force looting of money. This is the starting of the scamming. So everybody should fight for the disintegration of that zoo so that people can see work. All these are less you see, the less you see. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see the report from ASSU. It says ASSU NAS demands ASSU's removals from board.
You said what?
So let's see the impact on this on ASSU. So let me just go through it. It said the leadership of the National Association of Nigeria Students on Tuesday visited President Bola Tinubu over the student loan bill that is signed into law on Monday. He said the NAS delegation was led by the body's national president, Umar Barabu. Speaking to State House correspondents after engagement with the president, Barabu revealed that the urge aimed to review the constitution of the special committee that will oversee the new Nigerian Education Loan Fund to include student representatives. The NAS president said, "We signed the precedent for the student loan bill. We have outlined the clauses that we are not too comfortable with, and part of them is the issue of that board that we mentioned to the president, which we said at least student representatives should be captured, and there are some organizations that they put there with us. They don't need to be there." We gave him an example, most especially in the Nigerian Bar Association, ASSU. ASSU has its own microfinance bank running their own affairs with our students on their board. So I don't think it's wise for us to allow them to be inside our own board because it is purely students. We are the major stakeholders of that bank. So I don't think allowing them to be there is good. Not only them, we mentioned a lot of people that they should remove and put more of student-oriented organization. In response, the president promised to consider the request of the NANS leaders, but urged the student body to ensure unity among its members across the country to achieve more. You have to promote unity and stability among each other. You have to employ democratic means in your programs and election. I have to say, anyone who is unable to accept and celebrate a free and fair election does not deserve joy of victory, Tinubu said. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Still talking about the student loan app. Loan. I will analyze something on that because this is what I feel. If you're saying, okay, I don't know if you know the requirement, Mr. Yowa. The requirement is that at least a member of your household should be earning 500,000 yearly. So my question is, what about those that don't have anybody earning that amount in their family? How are they going to go about it?
Okay, then put on condition, sir.
Yes, they put
condition on it.
Yes. Let me play a video so you can see all the conditions listed there.
All these are scammers.
Like you talk about the how. So education bonds will be issued. There's going to be endowment fund schemes, 1% of taxes from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Immigration, Customs, also 1% of government profits from oil and minerals. Talked about the mining sector and how that has also struggled. Eligibility requirements. You got to have a proof of school enrollment in that higher institution, all polytechnics or vocational institutions that are government owned. Then the threshold is income of 500,000 naira a year. That breaks down to about 41,000 naira a month. That's the threshold.
Cost of a bag of rice a month.
Yeah, so that's the threshold they're using for those who require the funding. So if this is what you're earning, then you would qualify for that. And then at least, yeah, for the students.
For the student.
No, for the students. So it's either for the student or whoever is going to be funding the student that is going to get the loan.
So that's the family income.
Right, family income. Then if you get the triggers for disqualification, if you have a previous loan default by the student or the parents, also any incident of exam malpractice, any felony convictions, and then drug offense convictions, you get disqualified. And then as far as the loan processing, they're saying, and this is pretty quick, they're saying 30 days of processing and disbursement from when it reaches the chair, which is I guess the CBN governor. And then your repayment starts 2 years after you finished your youth corps. And then they are going to deduct from source. So it's going to be 10% of your salary deduction if you get a corporate job, or if you are a self-employed, it'll be 10% of your profits. And then part of the law, it says there, and this, I guess this may be open to interpretation. if you willfully, I'm not sure how this would be proved, but if you try to default on the loan, then there's going to be a 2-year imprisonment or a 500,000 naira fine or both. Now, so look, the president made the promise. It's here. I put out, there was a report we had, Rise News had about 6-7 months ago leading up to the elections as to how this would be funded. Right, remember that, yeah. How that would be funded. So there it is. I guess, you know, look, this is a lot of spending. If you think about, there's...
Okay, Mr. Yewa, so that's the requirement. So my question is, what about
That's
those
why I say all these people are scammers. That's why I say they are. You have to give a loan to somebody that is working, that earn 500,000 every month, isn't it?
Sorry?
Let's go to another topic. All these people are scammers. I can't buy the idea of them. They are all scammers. You get it? You get it?
So what I'm talking about now is for the government to actually look into the bill. Let the government look into the bill. Because you can't say, okay, what about those that are family are not earning up to that amount? So what are they going to do? Because those are the people that really need it. And with the from the look of things, I thought they said there's no money in the country. How much is school fees? So how are they going to pay for about thousands of persons' school fees? And also, Mr. Yowa, I think you should discuss this. Concerning
Which one?
this,
I miss our sister, Kerewe. I mean, you be Kewe. The other one, what
and
has
this
you
I
played?
forget that she's free.
Priye, And you are the Kewabi? She's Priye?
Yes, she's free. This
Wow. You said?
I said this financial market rebound on Emefiele's suspension. What do you think about that? Because Naira flames up. Equity makes 1.215 trillion gain.
Come again.
Financial market rebound on Emefiele's suspension. Yes, what do you have to say about that?
Because of
now
Emefiele's
Naira flames up.
You said because of Emefiele's suspension.
Financial market rebound on Emefiele's suspension.
I don't know about that.
Let me list all the headlines here. So you can just pick one. Articles supports INEC chairman as Obi tenders 188 additional exhibits against Tinubu's election. Now he has gone to bring other exhibits against Tinubu's election just to win the case. So guess what he did before the exhibit he brought before? It seems like it is not approved. For more, you have to go sort for more because that exhibit have not been approved. I know you guys have said this earlier on that it's not possible for him to win the case, but he just needs to try his best. The major thing I'll be talking about is still on Nnamdi Kanu, because I will keep referring to that. if you are still trusting on these courts that can't release an innocent person, how do you want them to release their own person? How do you want them to actually fight cases against their own person? So it's really not possible. To me, it's not possible. You can't tell a criminal cannot tell you to go to the police and you still go to the police and you expect his brother to jail him. It's not possible because it's still the brother that will still have to still pay for it. So those are the major headlines of today's newspapers, and that's all for today. And thank you for staying tuned. Mr. Yoba, thank you for coming.
Obi, him this thing for Abuja know the work again after a bonfire finish. You know, say them first of all go burn in supermarket. And first of all go burn in supermarket so that you will know what's up. You know the work again because it's like all the time he's supposed to be in doing another thing. He use it to be in classroom because I feel like that cut of a thing. He know they miss him. He never miss one class.
There's something that caught my interest. It said NNPCL denies giving Dangote refinery license for fuel imports.
For fuel import?
Yes.
You know they refined there again.
It said NNPC denies giving access.
So
that means not that they did not give him access for fuel imports.
I ain't go import fuel again. I think say na fuel where they no be the same Nigeria there ain't go carry fuel. The same inside pipe. From that river, no be River State no be River State then lay pipe put from rivers to Lagos there. The pipe was ocean there now. I don't even know the one where they no deny him again. Have you then deny him not to function? Now them go do that thing. Maybe you get percentage where they need. All this thing the more you look. Now them go still leave them. All those things now the more you look. And then Kaba, maybe you get some group. You get some group who are never satisfied with the agreement. Now politics and they play there now. Which one be import? No be pipe where they lay from River State, from Bayelsa down a place. No be the same pipe then lay on there. No be engine then go start for there, then then go draw down your con there, then refine and there. Waiting then one import again. When then get refinery there. Waiting then one import. Then lay pipe from Lagos there to River State. I think na so then do. To Bayelsa. Lay the whole pipe everywhere from that river there to that ocean. Now be the thing where they do now. Then go just draw the oil from river for Bayelsa from rivers, come that place. Then refine and there, distribute. Waiting on the which license again. Now Kabas, you get agreement where they never reach finish. Now waiting then they do. So maybe the Dangote group never agree with them. Then agree now, then go sign up. Or Tinubu won't give them condition. No say now, Tinubu do on board. Won't give the man condition. I waiting there be that. So nobody say as them talk am na so it be. You understand? So waiting there be said we don't tell Obi. So all this thing when they go for classroom, they go sit down. If you like men carry mat, they sleep there. Men go bring I see television where you carry come. Men go bring more. And they deceive them. I mean they go bring all these things. They do rubbish. Until before you go know it now, then go send Boko Haram, may you go that place where you put all those evidence, go bomb them. Church you go dismiss. Everybody go home. And just stay there, they're wasting time. May you not come and support Biafra. All of them they there, they run for one place. You understand? And for our leader own, for Nnam they can own. You go see them now, so then go do. One day then go send saying so then they do. Like anywhere where they loot money, Fulani loot money, then go put fire there. Fire go burn the whole document. So that they not go trace anything. And so then they do. The whole fire where they burn, both the place where snake, swallow money, everything. And the same fire there, you go burn everything. So now what they go do there? Obi will go house, go rest. Country where they lawless. What you want to do there? The country is a lawless country, so there's nothing is functioning there. So you don't need to waste your time there. You have to go and stand and build another nation that will have law from the foundation, from the background. That's how country works. Like we have government in exile now, Biafra government in exile. You start from foundation, get data. Assuming Nigeria is a good nation, where you get database, where students get from childbirth, he register, his name don't dey that data. The whole his family don't dey that data. If you want go borrow money, only him passport, he go use go bank. His identity is already in the nation database. You don't have to tell him what he required to go and bring this and that. The whole thing is in system. From childhood, like they do in Western world. If you are up to 18 or 20, when you never start work, you still dey go school. You go bank, go borrow money. Now that thing they want copy there. Then they do and here now. All these small children, and go bank. Then they pay them salary self. Not even then go bank, go borrow money. Then they pay them salary. You understand? If they pay them finish, you then can't read like that kind start work. You then can't start finish school, can't start work. Then go to pay federal government back. Out of the money where then they earn for their salary, government go to collect percentage there. Now that money where they spend for them, that salary where they give them that time, go back again with interest. And so government where they function, and so they be. That time they don't get database, they don't get everything, every of their thing, every of their identity they inside computer. So no need to go bring this, you require this, you require this. No. If you just hold out your passport, hence you'll be the indigenous of the country. You hold your passport 24 hours. You hold your identity. If you want to go bank, you want to go anywhere, you just show them. Everything they work fine. But they have zoo. Nothing is working. Nothing they put there where if you work. If it be like a Fulani, they control their court. Everything is under Fulani. So there is nothing is going to work there. It's better in support, you come out there. Even though if you no one support Biafra, when pass back here the support, we go accept them. You understand?
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr.
Apart our leader, let me talk about our leader.
Okay.
What about our leader is this? Because Ejiofor and Co are trying their possible best to keep our leader there, but Chukwu Okike Abiama pass them. Chukwu Okike Abiama pass them. We are heading for a 1 week sit at home. They no release all these things where they talk now. Then go hear them for 1 week sit at home. All these people will still they complain 1 day, 2 days. Now that 1 week on, then go no half, then go release them by force because they need extraordinary thing to release our leader. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. Mr. Kingoka, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Onyewowa, Onne Mmadụ.
Ezigbo mmadụ nna morning jare. Ka eme?
Bola Chiorima.
Yeah, nah, thank you.
Okay, well, how are you?
Very well, sir.
All right. Let me start from here. First of all, that student loan was a scam and will continue to be because it doesn't work. Nothing in nothing in Nigeria. There is nothing in Nigeria that was done with good faith to benefit for the benefit of Nigerians. I'm telling you, you will never see anybody, a common Nigeria, unquote, those who identify themselves as Nigeria. You will never see a common Nigeria that will come out and say, yes, I benefited from that student loan. It is a mirage. It is a scam. It's just one avenue they want to create to loot money. That's all. Just like that woman that called herself Zainab, that the dead Buhari administration created. The one that they were handing 500 billion every month to feed poor Nigerians. So who is a poor Nigerian and who is a rich Nigerian? So this is what Nigeria does. Nigeria breed criminals, and Nigeria creates avenue for looting of Nigeria Commonwealth. By the way, what Nigeria needs is student grants, at least for every semester. That was what I said, and I saw it. That is what Nigerians need. Nigerians does not need student loan. I'm telling you, all they need is grants. But that's, by the way, nothing in Nigeria was designed to benefit the average Nigerian. Because one thing you have to understand is that nobody is a Nigerian. Nobody is a Nigerian. It is only in Nigeria that nobody can identify himself, or you cannot identify yourself as a Nigerian, because there is no criteria for becoming Nigeria. As long as you're a Muslim coming from Chad, you're a Nigerian. As long as you're a Muslim coming from Senegal, you're a Nigerian. As long as you're a Muslim coming from Burkina Faso, you're a Nigerian. Any part of the world you're coming from, because Fulanis are scattered across Africa. So anywhere you're coming, as long as you're a Muslim, just come in, you are a Nigerian. So I keep saying it. Nigeria, nobody is a Nigerian. Nobody. Britain just created the highest enslavement camp in Africa, call it Nigeria, and the Fulanis are taking advantage of that. So there is nothing like the day our freedom is going to come, which I know is this year, and it's not going to be far. Coming to the sit-at-home order that was given, I had it is a good thing, and it's a welcome development. Those who oppose 1 day sit at home must be ready to embrace 7 days sit at home. We make no apologies, for this is our land, and we listen to only one government, which is the government, Biafran government in exile, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Simon Eba, and his cabinet. And everything they said is order and law. It's law and order in Biafra land. And nobody will interrupt it. I'm so grateful he touched the oil companies, that they better shut down their oil facilities so that Biafrans will not get angry. So it is good. It is very imperative that he touched that spot. I will even like him to go far, making sure that the secular get to them about our intention to shut our territory in 7 days. For anybody who opens any of his oil facilities within Biafran territory, whatever happens to that person must, such an individual must be responsible for whatever comes their way, because they cannot be doing business in our territory when we have a sit-at-home order coming from the office of the Prime Minister. So that is very, very, very good. We're moving in the right direction. They will understand that the people who owns the land has risen, because it's our land, and we decide what happened in our land, and we decide who governs us. And we only have one source of information, which comes from the Biafra government in exile and the de facto government in the homeland. So all these idiots parading themselves as governors and senators, they speak not for us. They can only speak for their immediate family, maybe their wife and children. They can command those people and govern them. But for Biafran territory, we have only one government. That is just the truth. And the better they understand it, the earlier they understand it, the better for them. We'll never go back. For our leader, Mazin Nandikalu, the Fulanese are not people of law. They don't understand what is law. They are nomadic people. So in nomadic setting, what they have is rankadede, where one man will be king and every other person will be bound down to him. So that is the kind of law they believe in their life, and that is the kind of system they believe. They don't believe in the rule of law. They are not lawful people, and that is why you see a competent court in Nigeria said discharge him, and no other court has the right, ability to try him. They only selected the laws that fit them, because why they keep on postponing or maybe adjourning the court day of our leader ever since that he was set free, they don't know how to start judging him again. it has been written there in clear terms. No court in Nigeria has the jurisdiction again to try this man. Hence, the means of his extradition to Nigeria was deemed illegal. It was not extradition. He was kidnapped in a foreign land and brought to this place. And before anybody have to judge him, you have to take him back to Kenya and apply for extradition law. Thereafter, you can have the jurisdiction to try him. But as long as you kidnapped somebody, you cannot turn illegality to legal. There is no how you can kidnap him from Kenya and try him in your court here. It is illegal. That's why they keep on adjourning the case of our leader. That is what the Fulani does. Malami, like I said this morning in one of my posts, Malami is not even qualified to be a salesman or a sales boy in any company. Not talk about becoming the chief enforcement law officer of the country. He doesn't know the law. He didn't go to school. He's an illiterate. He only went to law with quota system. Malami did not even pass his WAEC. He did not even graduate. He just because he's a Janjaweed, he's a Fulani man. So they don't believe in doing things the right way. They believe in the opposite of life. Anybody who failed can just become a graduate at the end of the day. You see them being stupid everywhere they are. I have to stop here. Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity. Take it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Kawa, it's like you're running out of time.
Okay.
I said it's like you are running out of time, right?
You can give your conclusion.
What about LSO?
Yeah, it's
Has
doing
been a
well.
while. Okay. I just want to tell everybody, I want to tell our people that they should support the disintegration of that country. It can never work. That country can never work. British did not design it to work. And the Fulani Janjaweed, no matter you put Akpabio, you put you put anybody you want to put, fuse them everywhere. Now, quarter to dead man, and the rule on. And from there, Fulani men will take over the country. Before you know it, what happened in Afghanistan will happen in Nigeria. Well, people are saying it. We are saying it loudly every day. People are not getting it. They just wake up. Everybody go his normal way. They feel like it don't concern me. Anyway, I hit my mic here.
Yeah, thanks so much. Mr. Kingo, I guess you are done, right? All right, so thank you all for staying tuned. Thank you to those in the comment section. Thank you, Mr. Owuka, Mr. Yowa. I appreciate your comment. Thanks so much. All right, so stay tuned with us same time tomorrow. I'm Mrs. Ellie Peters. Thank you as well.
Like you talk about the how. So education bonds will be issued. There's going to be endowment fund schemes, 1% of taxes from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Immigration, Customs, also 1% of government profits from oil and minerals. Talked about the mining sector and how that has also struggled. Eligibility requirements, you got to have a proof of school enrollment in that higher institution, all polytechnics or vocational institutions that are government owned. Then the threshold is income of 500,000 naira a year. That breaks down to about 41,000 naira a month. That's the
like
threshold.
The cost of a bag of rice a month.
Yeah, so that's the threshold they're using for those who require the funding. So if this is what you're earning, then you would qualify for that. And then at least, for the students.
For the students.
No, for the students. So it's either for the student or whoever is going to be funding the student that is going to get the loan.
So that's the family income.
Right, family income. Then if you get the triggers for disqualification, if you have a previous loan default by the students or the parents, also any incident of exam malpractice, any felony convictions, and then drug offense convictions, you get disqualified. And then as far as the loan processing, they're saying, and this is pretty quick, they're saying 30 days of processing and disbursement from when it reaches the chair, which is, I guess, the CBN governor. And then your repayment starts 2 years after you finished your youth corps. And then they are going to deduct from source. So it's going to be 10% of your salary deduction if you get a corporate job, or if you are a self-employed, it'll be 10% of your profits. And then part of the law, it says there, if you will, and this, I guess this may be open to interpretation. If you willfully, I'm not sure how this would be proved, but if you try to default on the loan, then there's going to be a 2-year imprisonment or a 500,000 naira fine, or both. Now, so look, the president made the promise. It's here. I put out, there was a report we had, Rise News had about 6-7 months ago, leading up to the elections, as to how this would be funded. Right, remember that, yeah. How that would be funded. So there it is. I guess, look, this is a lot of spending. If you think about, there's estimated 1.7 to 2.1 million students in government-funded universities here. Depending on how you break down who can afford it, interest-free loans in this environment, it's going to be a lot of spending on the part of the government. Also, the whole part of 2 years to start paying back after you complete your youth corps. That means there's a 2-year window to get a job. Right. So you got to get a job within that time. Now, that is going to be an incentive or a trigger for the government to try to make sure that there is an employable environment, because youth unemployment is 54% as of the Q4 2020 numbers from the Bureau of Statistics. Overall unemployment is 33%. So the government has to really move fast to make sure that there is an environment for jobs. Now, maybe there will be concessions. If you can't find a job within 2 years, maybe you don't start paying, and so on and so forth. And then there's also the issue of, if you maybe lose your job down the line, what happens to the monthly payments? Because that automatically triggers a default if you are not able to pay back. So will you then be in prison for 2 years or have to pay that fine? So, there's that. And so when you think about the inflationary environment, when you think about the amount of students, there's still a lot that has to be broken down here, but he's fulfilled his promise, in terms of getting this on paper and getting this out.
So fulfilled promise, signed into law, but let's extrapolate, that bill had been on even before the campaign started, 2019. It was just